Port, I appreciate you. Oh, a major wake-up call had just hit Africa. This is not the usual political talk. Two strong African leaders have stepped up to tell the plain truth about how Western democracy is failing our continent. First, the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, spoke plainly at African CEO Forum in Kigali. He attacked the hypocrisy of Western powers. He said they come to Africa lecturing us about human rights with one hand while using the other one to steal our gold, our uranium, our resources. Kagame told African leaders to stop playing the victim, value themselves, and learn to say a firm no to this theft. Then, Kenyan Professor P.O. Lumumba stood up in Ghana and asked a deeper question that everyone is afraid to face. What does the word democracy even mean in our own local languages? Do you even have a word for it? What freedom really means? Lumumba explained that we have all memorized Western definitions of democracy, like Abraham Lincoln's speech about a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But he reminded us that when Africa first got independence, our founding fathers did not see democracy as just holding fancy elections to please foreign donors. To them, real democracy meant things you can see and feel. It meant controlling our own farms, building our own hospitals, opening our own schools, and owning the riches under our soil.
Democracy must not be Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, which we import from Europe and America. And one of the things that I've said, whenever Africa has tried to Coca-Colarize democracy, then it brings about confusion. The question that I've been asked to talk about is, what is democracy? You know, this term democracy, in your various mother tongues, what do you call it? Do you have a word for it? Do you have a name for it? Today, Western Europe tells us that democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Those were the famous words of Abraham Lincoln of the United States of America. They were talking about democracy. And I can remember, courtesy of history, when the Americans sat in Philadelphia in 1776, and they were declaring their independence, they said, among other things, that they held certain truths to be self-evident, that all men are born equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain alienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that it is for that reason that governments are instituted amongst men, that they may make people to realize happiness. So over the years, when we talk about democracy, we go back to Greece. And we say that demo means people, and that participation of the people is at the very heart of what democracy is. We go back to the United States of America and we say that it's a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. When we regained independence, we told ourselves that democracy is the best form of government. And I can still remember once again in 1963, when 32 heads of states and government were gathered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. All of them said that they were forming governments that were going to do certain things for the people. Because democracy meant, among other things, that we would take charge of our affairs, that we would be able to feed ourselves, that we would take care of agriculture, that we would be able to make health care be available to the people, that we would be able to have education available to the people. And they said that that is what democracy was significant for. And you Ghanaians will remember these words of Kwame Nkrumah when he said in 1957 that the new Ghana requires a new person, a new Ghanaian whose only claim to fame is that he or she loves his country. He or she is prepared to fight for his country. This was the clarion call of Kwame Nkrumah in the year 1957. He repeated those words on the 29th day of November, the year 1961, on the occasion of the inauguration of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, he told his audience that Ghana needed to be a country that would use knowledge for the people of Ghana. So that throughout the 1960s and 1970s, whenever leaders were talking, they were always talking about the people and the people-centeredness of democracy. But you and me will remember, and allow me to refer to Nkrumah again and again, because he warned us. He warned Africa in Addis Ababa on the 25th day of May. He told those who are present, let us unite now. Let us leave Addis Ababa with one army now. Let us leave Addis Ababa with one government now. Let us leave Addis Ababa as a united continent now. Because the neo-colonialists, if we do not unite, they'll come back and they will control us. He wrote a book, Africa Must Unite. He came back, and no sooner had his government settled than the destabilization of that government started in earnest. Today, I see some commentators who, in my view, do not understand and appreciate Diosagie for saying that he was dictatorial. But do they understand what he was fighting against? I see them saying that he brought into being detention without trial. I see them saying that he was too active in Africa and not as active in Ghana. But I want to remind Ghanaians, was it not him, Diosagie, that talked about the Akosombo Dam? Was it not him that talked about Tema Port? Was it not him that established the universities in Kumasi? Was it not him that talked about the university in Winneba? Was it not him that said that Ghana should unite with Mali, at that time led by Modibo Keita? Was it not him? Was it not him making mistakes like all human beings who said that we should unite? Was it not him that said that because we are diverse, we ought to have only one agenda? Was it not him that warned us that everything that was being done not only for Ghana and for the rest of, but the rest of Africa? Was it not him and his administration that brought here freedom fighters from Zimbabwe? Was it not him that accommodated freedom fighters from South Africa? Was it not him that accommodated Patrice Emery Lumumba from Congo? Was it not him that assembled Africa in Accra, Ghana in 1958? Was it not him? Was it not him that assembled Africans in 1965 and wanted Africans to unite? It was him. But because he meant well for Africa, was it not him that was betrayed in 1966 and overthrown? And was it not of Kwame Nkrumah that when they overthrew him, they banned all his books and all his speeches here in Ghana? Was it not the case? It was. But he was talking about democracy. He was talking about the people. That is why, therefore, between 1900 and 1966, Ghana was troubled. The spirit of Kwame Nkrumah was troubled for Ghana and Africa. He was not too far from here. He was in Guinea. Ahmed Sékou Touré made him a co-president, wanted him to be the president of Guinea. He wrote letters then, my days in Conakry. He wrote about Africa, wrote about Ghana. Between 1966 and 1979, Ghana was troubled, coup d'etat after coup d'etat. If it was not Ignatius Kutu Champong, it was Jerry Rawlings. Coups became as frequent as breakfast in Ghana. Ghana was troubled. The people were not involved. It was leadership by fiat and dictatorship. The people were not involved. Democracy was on its deathbed. And Ghanaians started to think that Kwame Nkrumah made sense. And in 1972, the rehabilitation of the Osage for Kwame Nkrumah started again. His books that were banned were unbanned. His speeches that were banned were unbanned. The Osage was restored. Why is it important to talk about him? When the world was looking at him and talking about democracy, at the end of the 20th century, they did a poll all over the world. And it was said of the Osage of Nkrumah that he was the greatest African in the 20th century. So today, when I'm talking about whether democracy is a reality or an illusion in Ghana, I cannot but remember Kwame Nkrumah and his administration.
Lumumba warned that democracy is not like Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola that we can just import from Europe or America. Whenever African tries to copy and paste Western politics, it only brings confusion and failure. Lumumba then defended the legacy of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Today, many critics try to call Dr. Kwame Nkrumah a dictator, but Lumumba reminded everyone of the massive foreign plots that were set up to destroy Kwame Nkrumah's dream. Nkrumah was a leader who was actually building things. He built the Akosombo Dam, started the universities in Kumasi and Winneba, and gave a safe home to freedom fighters from South Africa, Zimbabwe, and the Congo. In 1963, Kwame Nkrumah stood before 32 African leaders and told them plainly, quote, "We must unite now with one army and one government." End of quote. He knew that if Africa remained divided, Western powers would easily come back to control us, because Nkrumah wanted Africa to be truly independent. He was betrayed and overthrown in 1966 through a Western-backed coup plot. The people who feared a united Africa even banned his books and banned his speeches to make people forget him. This led to decades of chaos across Africa, where military coups became as common as breakfast, and the ordinary people were completely ignored. But Nkrumah's idea never died, because history proved he was right, building an African system that will solve the African problem. A united Africa is what they are scared of. That was the same thing they did to Muammar Gaddafi, rising up to tell us that Muammar Gaddafi was a dictator. And even today you still have Africans who believe that Muammar Gaddafi was truly a dictator, forgetting about the promises of the democracy and the lifestyle they promised the people in Libya before they took Muammar Gaddafi out. The African is blind to see the things that the Libyans are going through today after Muammar Gaddafi was taken out. But the African can easily point a finger and call Muammar Gaddafi a dictator. These are all the plots of these people. They come here selling us democracy. And it's the same thing that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have seen. And they decided to kick these people out and told us that we don't need elections, because we cannot continue to be having elections under the watchful eyes of these people, dipping our fingers with inks every year. And nothing changes in Africa. The time for us all to unite and see these people for who they are is now. Like, there is no leader under that system called democracy that can do anything meaningful for us. And that is the reason to which each time we are having elections, they are here. And whenever these leaders get the opportunity, they don't talk about how we need to do something for ourselves, but the best thing they do is to praise how well they have maintained democracy. So any leader we are seeing in Africa praising the system called democracy, we should know that that leader is not for us. And these are not my words. Even the ECOWAS chairperson, Julius Maada Bio, said they have failed the continent because they are protecting borders. What is the borders that he's talking about? It's the interest of the oppressor. So we need to see these leaders for who they are. They know what they are doing is wrong. Just take Tinubu, for instance, telling the whole world what we need to do, creating a platform. And when he was asked, why not start it? We saw that Tinubu could not do anything. Tinubu was asking, you mean? Shocked. How do you expect Africa to change when you yourself who brought the idea cannot start it? So they are not paid to change anything in Africa. That's why we see them dining with them and they continue to praise these leaders because they know they do nothing in the interest of the African. So democracy, as we know, and the leaders in Sahel have said it, isn't for us. A Western-style democracy isn't changing anything. Just like they come preaching us human rights, giving us democracy, yet the resources are leaving. What have we gained after practicing democracy for all these years? Like Kagame said, they need to add value to themselves. Be firm to say no, because saying yes to something that will cause generations pain is better you take the consequences like we are seeing in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. So the time for our leaders to be firm and bold in taking decisions that will protect us is now. And we must also fight to get leaders that will be ready to move away with the Western-style democracy to something that is concrete, something that is for the African, that understands the problems and will give solutions of the African to the African problem instead of looking for solutions from the West to the African problem, because we are not in the same geographical area. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Ghana.